Welcome, Mr. Polyanskiy. Thank you for having time for us today. So, I have got a few topics on the table, but I want to start with the latest one. The Armenian parliament ratified the Rome Statute, which has issued an arrest warrant for President Vladimir Putin. How do you evaluate this last step and the developments in the region regarding the status of Karabakh?
I think the assessment of this initiative by Armenian parliament was given by my foreign minister today. We deplore this fact. We don't think that it will contribute to the strengthening of security of Armenia. We know that there are a lot of processes that are now happening in this country, very controversial processes. We enjoy traditional long-standing friendship and relations of cooperation and partnership with Armenia. We have strong ties with the Armenian people, and we are absolutely sure that Armenians will have enough wisdom to make a right choice and not to make certain mistakes that would complicate very much our relations.
Thank you very much, sir. My other questions is about the sabotage of the Nord Stream project and Germany discontinuing Russian gas imports harm its German industries.
Well, we discussed this issue in Security Council repeatedly. We raised it several times. We promoted the idea of independent international investigation under the aegis of Secretary General. This resolution was not supported by our colleagues in Security Council, and some of them, mostly Western countries, were insisting on the fact that we should give the time to German, Swedish, and Danish investigations in this matter. We listened to them, but time flies. We haven't seen anything concrete from this investigation. We are now working on presidential statements of the Security Council on this issue, where we will give an assessment of our position vis-à-vis this sabotage. We are expecting, of course, the results of German investigation as well as Swedish and Danish, but we are not very optimistic in Russia because we see that they are going in circles, and that the main task of their investigations looks likely just to shield the responsibility from the United States. But we are not rushing with conclusions. We are ready to wait, but not too long.
Thank you very much, sir. As the conflict in Ukraine continues, we are witnessing a shortage of funding for the West. And it seems that the Kyiv regime is unlikely to hold out against Russia in the medium term. In this situation, is it possible for Moscow to return to the negotiating table?
We have never left negotiating tables. As you know, more than a year ago, in March and April, there was a draft treaty which was initiated by Ukrainian side. This treaty was quite favorable to Ukraine, and Ukraine would have saved a lot of manpower and resources if they agreed to this treaty. But then there was a signal from Washington and London, and Zelensky made a fatal mistake when he decided not to sign this treaty. Moreover, in November, if I'm not mistaken, of last year, so it means about a year ago, Zelensky signed a decree, a presidential decree, which formally forbids him to enter into negotiations with President Putin, with the Russian side. It means that there are legal obstacles from the part of Ukraine to enter negotiations. There are no obstacles from our side to enter negotiations, provided they are on realistic platform. The suggestions that we have heard from the West and from Ukraine are not realistic. They do not take into account the situation on the ground. And of course, this is not a starter for any negotiations. From the outset, we were absolutely clear that we are ready to negotiate on the implementation of the goals of our special military operation by peaceful means. But if they are not implemented through peaceful means, then we will have no other choice but to implement them through military means. And that's what's happening on the ground right now.
Thank you very much. And what are your thoughts on the recent grain dispute between Ukraine and Poland? Is it true that Warsaw aims to annex part of Ukrainian territory? Considering historical events, can we speak of a friendship between Poland and Ukraine?
I think it's something that relates to bilateral ties of these two countries, and I don't want to speculate there. There are Polish and Ukrainian analysts who would maybe be better placed to analyze the situation. We do not take into account in our calculations something that is happening around Ukraine and between Ukraine and its Western allies and sponsors. We are more concentrated on what we as Russia are able to do to eradicate the problems that led to the special military operation in February of last year.
This question is about Kazakhstan-Russia relations. Kazakh President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev seems to be pursuing a multi-vector policy. In his meeting with German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, Tokayev expressed support for anti-Russian sanctions. And how do you assess the future of Kazakhstan and Russia relations?
I think that this statement was misinterpreted by those who have kind of wishful thinking to see our neighbors acting against us. We know this statement. I don't see there anything that is anti-Russian. Tokayev is confirming at the same time that he's very much keen to develop the relations of strategic partnership with Russia, and we are quite satisfied with that. Kazakhstan is a member of Eurasian Economic Union, so I don't think that the reports about Kazakhstan being anti-Russian or choosing some anti-Russian policies are corresponding to reality.
Thank you very much. And my last question is about Turkey. In generally, how do you evaluate Turkish position, especially in the Ukraine crisis? Because Turkey also has a position in grain agreement and also makes agreements with Ukraine, weapon agreements, and about the Turkey-Russia relations. How do you evaluate in generally Turkey's positions?
Well, it's of course not up to me to analyze bilateral Russian-Turkish relations. We have our embassy in Ankara, and I think that they are better placed for that. But from the UN perspective, I can tell you that Turkey is playing a very important role at the international arena. We very much appreciate the fact that Turkey has not joined Western sanctions, and that we have very fruitful and mutually beneficial cooperation between Turkey and Russia. We are never concealing from our Turkish friends that we are not supporting and we are not understanding some statements that Turkish leadership is making vis-a-vis Crimea, for example, which is a settled issue for us. But we understand the reasoning behind these statements, so we do not overestimate this. We know that Turkey is eager to play an important role in stopping the military activities, bringing both parties to negotiating table. It's a very difficult task, given what I told you about the position of the Ukrainian side. But we, in any case, support any kind of efforts by Turkey or by other countries. We understand that they are acting on the premises of necessity to bring peace to this region. But again, there are certain parameters that should be taken into consideration, and certain problems that should be eradicated in the course of these negotiations. There are certain goals of our special military operation which should be achieved, because we don't want to have a hornet's nest at our borders. We want to have a peaceful, peace-loving, not belligerent neighbor who would respect the rights of Russian-speaking population and who would not represent a threat for Russia. And this is a basic point of any possible negotiating solution. And now, of course, the position for negotiations for Ukraine is much worse than it was in March and April last year, and we hope that our Turkish friends understand this. Turkey also played a very important role in in the grain deal that ended in July of this year after the Russian UN part of this deal was never implemented by Western countries. I know that Turkey is trying to find a way out of this situation, of this stalemate, but this way out, of course, will include, as President Erdogan said it quite clearly, some kind of concessions from the West to Russia and implementation of the thing that were promised to us 1 year ago. So on this basis, we hope that Turkey will be able to facilitate some kind of future arrangements that would allow Russian fertilizers and Russian food products to enter world markets, which will contribute to a large extent to the stability in these markets and to the well-being of the countries of the global south.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Polyanskiy.
Thank you.
That was all my questions. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. All the best to you.